Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So Magic's get kind of controversial. I have been hearing a lot of different takes about the new buffed Magic, and as often it goes, I think the majority voice is kind of the negative one. That's kind of the feedback that you hear most. I have seen a couple of videos and I have seen like several forum threads and obviously comments, and people are getting like very passionate about this. And surprisingly, this is one of the times then I'm not getting as worked up about it as most or at all, to be honest. So by default, I assume this video is going to annoy and piss off a lot of people. So we're going to split this video in two parts. One thing is we're going to talk about the fact that this is a brand new Magic that doesn't feel like the old Magic, and then we're going to talk about the buff and the champion itself. And one of the things that people have been complaining kind of the most is, why couldn't we keep the OG 5-star Magic? And I get kind of blindsided from this one. I actually didn't think that anybody would kind of like bring this point up, because that has been kind of the deal with every rework. We just got a reworked Doctor Strange. We don't have the old one in the game anymore. We just got a reworked something. Who else was the previous rework? But the base point is we get a lot of buffs and reworks, and especially in reworks like OG Iron Man, for instance. Nobody cried about OG Iron Man, not existing in the game anymore, or like Colossus and Juggernaut, and a lot of champions have been changed drastically from how they were initially released. They have received complete rework, and nobody really cares. So this really kind of took me for a spin. And I was kind of like trying to put my head around, I suppose, what is different from this to Doctor Strange? Why people care so much about having kept the 5-star Magic? And the only thing comes to the mind is that because this wasn't a result of some sort of fan vote, for instance, and that Magic was a relevant champion. But to me, on a personal note, this is nothing out of the ordinary. Like, champion gets a rework, to me it seems natural that we don't keep the legacy version of it. Now, the second aspect of this going further is, why is this a nerf? Is this a buff? Is she worse? Is she better now? And this is another thing where I just don't actually make the correlation, because ever since the announcement I said the new champion will not be Magic. The new champion will be a skinwalker wearing the skin and name of the Magic. You could consider it a variant of Magic if you want. And the fact that she has no power control, and whether the old Magic was better and stuff like that, to me, again, it was never part of the thought process and conversation. To me, it was either I never use Magic or a champion called Magic for anything ever in the game, because we have well outgrown the 5 stars, or we get this. It was never an option that, we could have gotten a 7-star Magic, for instance, and Kabam has phrased it like that. And if you have watched the channel for any meaningful amount of time, or at the beginning since the olden days, you guys will know that I was like a massive Quake fan. I quaked a lot. I was very good at it. I could quake like labyrinth fights, and it took forever, but I did it. And obviously, initially I was annoyed that Quake's not getting released ever as a 6-star, ever as a 7-star. And now it's so kind of many years removed from that, well, number one, I don't really care what they do with Quake, because to me, they already have done the damage by deleting the Quake from the game, effectively. Because I do not get to play with Quake. I don't remember the last time outside of Arena that I have used Quake, for instance. And therefore, if Kabam does change her into a new champion, and if that new champion is better or worse than Quake, realistically, no new champion is going to be better than Quake, because Quake is the most messed up thing Kabam has ever made. but I don't have that expectation that this rework has to be like better than old Quake, because it's impossible, because I still think Quake is the best champion in the history of this game. Or at the very least, at the time, it, you know, did ridiculous things and it mattered the most. So, is this a nerf? Is this a buff? Again, my brain just doesn't quite go in that direction, because my options were quite clear. Either never play Magik again, or play a reworked version of Magik. And, you know, for me, it's like, fine. It could have been, you know, a variant of Magik. Kabam could have just released, you know, Magik, I don't know, and some sort of name. And you know, Magik New, or Magik Sigil, or something. Or Magik Radiant Magik, or something. And I would look at it the same way. In that way, we would have gotten to keep the old OG 5-star Magik, but effectively the point is that I have kind of detached whatever this champion is from whatever I loved about the old Magik, because I knew, you know, it's not going to coexist. And then lastly, there's the conversation about the power control and changing the champion's identity. My big issue is actually different. And this is where we're going to move into the second part of the video, where I do have some gameplay for you. And I went into a random quest. I think this is like 646, so it can go on in the background. My kind of one issue with the Magik rework, the one big thing that annoys me, but I think it's just dumb. I think it's Kabam not being clever enough. They made Magik into a difficult to play champion, and I think that is the dumbest thing they could have done. Because put aside the power control thing, put aside exactly how Limbo worked. In its base, in its fundamentals, anybody could use Magik. I could bring in a 5-year-old, and I could teach him how to use Magik faster than just about any other champion. The idea is very simple: get to level 2, spam your level 2s. I could give Magik to a grandparent, and they would be able to learn how to use Magik. Because Magik was about as simple to use of a champion as you could get. And therefore, Magik by default kind of had like a mass appeal. Like, because you could be super casual, you could be super skilled player. You could pick up a Magik and get some very, very good, great results out of it. And bypassing the intricacies of the new kit, that's just not the case anymore. I have spent like a couple hours with the new Magik, and she's not an easy to operate champion. Even after you kind of get used to her, you know, one bad split-second decision, you're wrecked. One, you know, thing that you don't notice, one time you don't see, one, you know, a bit of power that you miscalculate. Like, for instance, in many of the matchups, big thing with Magik is that you need to make sure that whenever the next buff on the opponent is going to expire, which often will be Limbo, that pushes you past the bar of power, or your degens are going to fall off. That's kind of like one of the things that in her kit that you need to be aware of. For instance, after you throw a special attack, in often case you need to make sure that when that Limbo is going to expire, you're going to get past a bar of power. Super important in her kit, or you lose all your ramp up. And that's like an advanced type of thing. And on top of everything else, where you need to balance between accelerating, deaccelerating, when your falter is on cooldown, when it isn't on cooldown, remind yourself that after each special attack, you basically immediately have to throw that heavy. And like all of the different things, she is not easy to operate champion. Therefore, at this point, I fully believe then that, I don't know, less than 1% of the people will be able to get the best out of Magik. So what Kabam here has done, they have taken one of the OG gods of this game that was super simple to use, and they have turned it into a very skill required champion, which again to me is kind of like a recipe for a disaster, because most of the people will not like this buff for the simple idea. Okay, here I make a mistake by the will not like this buff for the simple idea that it's like very, very hard to use. And it's one thing when you release a new champion that's hard to use, but it's another thing when you rework an old one and make that champion super hard to use, because again, there will be people who will absolutely feel left out and disappointed and angry, and I understand that. And that is the one thing that really kind of bugs me, because they turned a fan favorite character into effectively an exclusive champion. to those that have much better than average skill. And it does not sit right with me. Now, as far as the rest of her kit goes, again, I do think that you do need to practice her a lot. We do not know exactly how well she's going to scale as, 7-star, because I don't think anybody has played with her as a 7-star yet, but I think there's a chance she's actually good. I'm not super sold on her. We're going to need to see like the matchup list, because as I said, she will be able to nuke Serpent. She's okay against Thanos, but that's not an easy fight. And Dark Phoenix, she can kind of do, but again, it's not an easy fight, and that's kind of going to be a theme. I think she will be able to do a ton of fights, but I think most of the people will not be able to do many fights with her. It's going to be kind of like the Tigra, or Ghost moments or Quake moments, where there's going to be significant portions of player bases that will just never learn how to use that champion properly, because it is not easy. You have to make a lot of split-second decisions, and it kind of feels like Invisible Woman in a sense, where if you make one mistake, you lose all your damage ramp up and potentially, can die. Or like Adam Warlock, where again, if you do make a mistake, you lose all your ramp up and your fight duration gets like doubled. And that's bad. So, whilst I'm so far fairly neutral on the change, obviously I would have liked her to have some power control. The one thing that annoys me is the fact that she is so difficult to use, not because like I don't think I will not be able to learn how to use her. I'm quite sure I will. I'm slowly but surely kind of getting better at it. But it just seems like a dumb way to go about things. Like, it seems like a complete oversight from Kabam. As far as not having an OG version of 5-star Magik in the game, I just don't care. It's been like very long time. I don't remember, again, outside of Arena, when is the last time I used my 5-star Magik, and I never expected for them to keep OG version, because they never have. So to me, I don't know. And I don't want to say that's not a valid reason to be angry at Kabam, because whatever your reasons are, like I'm sure you can explain it in the comment section, but it's certainly one of those things that I'm not that bothered with. The one thing that annoys me is just genuinely the fact that they made her hard to use, because most people won't. Dumb. So let me know. This thing's definitely quite controversial. I have seen a lot of very passionate people talking about this, and I do understand that my opinion kind of doesn't align with most people, because again, I actually think she's okay. I don't think she's like a bad champion, and whether it was a nuke or nerf or buff, I never kind of like even considered it to be part of equation, because I knew she's going to be completely, I suspected she's going to be completely different, and to me, it's just a different champion. So yeah, would love to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next